It's time for health tips. Now here's your host, Dr. Alma Jenkins.
Good evening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Alma Jenkins, and this is Health Tips. You know, we're going to do something different tonight. We've been doing various dishes, but I don't think we've ever done a stroganoff dish. So we're going to do a mushroom stroganoff dish, a vegetarian dish. And guess what? This is our first time doing this on the show. So I found a wonderful recipe. It looked gorgeous, and we're going to do it together. How's that? I like adventure. So let's do a mushroom stroganoff. And if you really love this dish, hey, you can do it Sunday if you like mushrooms. All right. But before we get started, let me again remind you that we are willing to come to your church, your group, and talk about a health topic that you might find helpful. Just let us know. We would love to come. You can pick a topic or we'll pick one for you. Okay? And also don't forget that if you have a recipe that you want to share with us, please let us know, especially a healthy recipe. We may want you to come and do that for us. You know, we're always looking for another delicious, healthy recipe. Because many of you know that some of the, quote, healthy things don't always taste as good as we want. So if we can get a collection of really good tasting, healthy things, maybe we can convince more people to eat healthily. All right? Okay. And you know I want you to have your cans ready, right? So that you can do your exercise in between if there's a lull period. Let me introduce you to what we have for this recipe. But before I forget, if you want to drop us a line about your recipe, about speaking at some event, then just drop it to the address at the bottom of the station of the show. You'll have the address that you can send a recipe or you have a comment that you want to make to the show. Also, if you missed this segment or you got to leave in the middle of it, just tune into our website, dralmajenkins.com, and there'll be a link that you can take to YouTube, and we're there. All right? So we're uploading these shows as we do them so that you can watch anytime you like. Isn't that exciting? We think it is. All right. So we're going to do a dish called mushroom stroganoff, and I will give credit to Southern Magazine because I got it out of there. Some of you may have seen it there, and I thought, well, let's make this for the show. Now, you can always tweak it the way you want, but the ingredients are mushrooms. The first, I'm going to introduce the ingredients as we put them in our pan. So I'm going to use my iron skillet. It's been a while since I used that. And if you have one this size or larger, you may want to use it, okay? Because quite a few ingredients go into this. So it's heating up. It's about hot enough actually now. What I have in here is olive oil, and can't believe it's not butter. It calls for butter, but you know what we use in place of butter. So I'm going to put this in here. Okay? And I started using a spatula and other instruments like other utensils like that because they're not as harsh. But I am going to have to use a little bit of a spoon to finish getting this out because I want to get all of this in here. Every bit of it. And some of my cookware is rather sensitive to the harsh metals. Okay? So we have our towel here to help us out. So the recipe calls for you to use butter and olive oil, all right? And some of you are going to want to know exactly how much. Well, I'm going to go over the ingredients with you again at the end of the show. We're going to let that mellow down a little bit. Okay, look at there. I'm going to let that sort of sizzle. And when it does, then we're going to put our mushrooms in here. I'm going to put as many as I think I can saute and still, you know, have some space. So I may not end up using all of these because these are rather thickly cut, thickly sliced mushrooms. I'm going to put as many as can fit in the pan reasonably. Okay, so let's go with that for now. All right, so I've got my mushrooms in here, and this has got to sort of start sizzling a bit and everything. Okay, so I'm gonna let it do that. I can add a few more smaller cut ones, I think. Ah, it's starting to get there now. Yeah. All right. Now, when I have in between time, you know what I want to do. I'm gonna let that kind of brown some, and then when that browns a little bit, then guess what? We're gonna put our garlic in there and our other spices, because you know garlic actually is very easy to burn, so you got to be careful. So we're gonna let this. I like my mushrooms to kind of get a little bit brown. I don't know, seems like they taste better like that. So I'm gonna saute these and let these get nice. All right, while that's doing that, what can we do? We can do some exercise, can't we? 1, 2, 3, and 1. And 2, 3. You know, it's so wonderful and relaxing too, I think, to get in the kitchen and just cook. I didn't understand that when I was younger, but as I've gotten older and with all the hectic things that we have to deal with, and certainly in my profession, seeing life and death and such serious things, when I come home and I'm able to put some stuff on the stove, it feels good. It's relaxing to me. So let's take a deep breath now. 1, 2, 3. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Oh, great. Deep breath in again. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay. Oh, great. Now, let's do this some more. 1, 2, 3, and 1. So, you know, I want to encourage many of you to get out of your chairs, stand up, and do this exercise with me. I really appreciate your telling me, hey, Dr. Jenkins, I watch your show every Saturday. But my next question is always, yeah, but are you lifting your cans with me? And more times than not, I get a no. Now, I understand, you know, you may be tired, you may be watching the show at the end of a busy day. So I'm not going to judge you for that. But I do want you to do more exercise with me, because that's what I'm trying to promote for you. Okay, now I'm gonna take time, okay, and try to turn these over. You know, because I just like my mushrooms to brown on both sides, you know, a little bit. At least get some brown. And I know you said, once you sticking your hand in there, you're gonna burn yourself. Well, you know, if you do this often enough, you know how long to keep your hand there. You kind of develop an understanding about it. And you don't have to be this meticulous to turn every one of them over like this. But you know, some of us are a little obsessive. Guilty. All right, so I'm gonna let that just saute a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the other ingredients in it. So it requires you to saute that like so. Okay? Like so. And then you're going to add 2 cloves of garlic to this. 2 cloves of garlic. I estimated what 2 cloves of minced garlic would be. Okay? Stir that around in there. Let that work a little bit, okay? Let that work a little bit. Now, the next ingredients that you're gonna put in there, this is sea salt, paprika, thyme, and ground pepper. Okay? All of those ingredients. Now we're going to put that in here. Now, you know, they call for smoked paprika, but where in the world can you get that? I had no idea where to get any smoked paprika. All right, so then the next thing you're gonna do, and let me tell you, I have a little recipe sheet here, and you can actually print this off on the internet. You can print this off, and your egg noodles, after you get through, I have the egg noodles already boiling, okay? Here are my egg noodles right here. And they're just sitting here. I'm gonna pour the water off in just a minute, and they're gonna just sit there. So we're gonna turn those off because they're ready now. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the remainder. I have some Can't Believe It's Not butter and flour. We're gonna add that now. Try not to get too messy. Okay. Add flour and remaining butter for about 2 minutes. Whisk in the broth. Look at that. That's cooking up something there. I'm gonna get a whisker. I have a whisker. Okay. I've whisked in the broth. Oh boy. Now the last thing we're going to put in is the sour cream. We're going to whisk in the sour cream and the parsley. So I have sour cream here, and I have parsley. That's fresh parsley, by the way. I cut it up. It's fresh parsley. Okay? So we're going to whisk in constantly, let it boil, and let it go there for about 5 minutes. So we're going to be obedient and let it do that. You kind of wonder, I wonder how that tastes, you know. I don't know. I wonder how that broth is tasting. So I'm going to taste the broth just to see what it's like. Boy, that is good. You know that's good? It sure is. You can see that thyme floating around in there. Now they asked for fresh thyme. I didn't have fresh thyme, but I did have some, you know, thyme dried that looked really good, and I'm using that. Now it's going to take a minute for that to boil, and while that's doing that, what are we going to do? We are going to do some more exercise. 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, 5. Oh, it's starting to boil. When it starts to boil, you need to start stirring it, okay? Because you don't want it to be lumpy. So let's stop a minute, and let's just keep stirring. You got to do this for a few minutes, okay? It looks like a nice gravy. Look at that. Oh, wow. That looks great. Okay. It says do this for about 5 minutes. I'm going to cut it down some, not try to cook it too fast. You know, I have to catch myself because a lot of times I cook too fast because I'm wanting it to get ready and get, you know, get there, you know, get it. But you got to be patient when you cook. You cook too fast, you don't give things time to kind of gel together, you know. So we're going to do this for about 5 minutes. It's what the recipe calls for. You whisk it, keep it from making lumps and all of that. And you got these lovely mushrooms floating around. And we're getting ready to put the sour cream in shortly and the parsley. And then that's poured over the noodles. Okay? So I'm going to get a container that might look pretty for those noodles. Let's get a nice container for it. Okay? 5 minutes. We've done what, about 3 minutes now? Alrighty, not much longer. Let's go another 2 minutes with this. Doesn't it look good though? I just love that. Look at that. Now remember that those other ingredients were paprika. Now I have to look at it now because it's not something we do every day. Paprika, thyme sprigs, okay, and sea salt. Okay, and that's just gonna do some more boiling there, another couple of minutes. And this is, I must say, this is lumpless. I don't see a lump in it. It looks great. You might even just want to use this as gravy for something else that you might be eating. Okay? You might. It looks good. And it tasted good too. How about that? Let's let that boil some more pretty good there. About another minute. Because it calls for about 5 minutes. And I don't think it's been quite 5 minutes yet. So remember, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Doesn't time go by fast when you're having fun? I know it. Okay. So maybe it's been about 5 minutes almost now. So let's stir in our sour cream. Okay. So we're going to remove this from the heat when we stir the sour cream in there. I've got the heat off now. You can actually take it off the stove because the recipe says remove from heat. Now I'm not being totally obedient when I do this. Okay. Stirring in the sour cream. Look at that. Now, you do it as it says, remove it from the heat. Let it sit, remove it from the heat so it's not still right on the heat, okay? And let's put the parsley in there. That's parsley. Fresh parsley too. I chopped that up myself. Fresh parsley. Okay. Now if you don't remove it from the heat and do it, you may get more lumps perhaps. Because I do see some now. Kind of, sort of. There's a little bit of the sour cream I'm going to put back in there. Okay. And I'm going to put a little of this in my tasting spoon. That's good. It is really. I'm not kidding you. So what I'm going to do, and oh, when I boiled my noodles, I did put a little salt in it just to kind of season the noodles a little bit. And I put a little olive oil in it. And the reason for that is it keeps the noodles from sticking. Okay, because you don't want the noodles to stick. Now, if you don't have a colander, you can take a plate and you can pour your water off. But you got to be careful because if you're not, you're going to lose some noodles. Okay, look at that. And see how the noodles don't stick together because I put a little bit of oil in there? Okay, so I'm going to take my bowl here. Move this so you can see. And I'm going to pour my noodles in here like so. And then I'm going to take my sour cream, which should be off the heat. Let me get a... And I'm going to pour this entire mixture into here, like so. Look at there. What do you got there? Mushroom stroganoff. Ha ha! And guess what? Doesn't that look good? You know it does. Now, if you have a colander, you can get rid of some of that water that's on the noodles, okay? You want the noodles to be as dry in terms of as waterless as possible, okay? So now, my special favorite tester plate. And you know, this is where putting all those mushrooms in comes in helpful, because it really takes all those mushrooms to evenly distribute the mushrooms throughout the plate. Okay? And then if you have some meat that you want to have with it, or you have some other dish you want to put in there with it, bless you. If you get used to drinking water with your meals, you'll be doing well. If I can influence you to do that, I've done my job. At least part of it anyway. Okay? Look at that. So we've got mushroom stroganoff. I have water with it. Let's just test it and taste it here. So I'm going to get some noodles. And I'm going to, let me cut a little bit of the mushroom. Mushroom and some of the noodles. Okay. This is really good. I'm not kidding y'all. Even just the noodles without the mushrooms. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like Alfredo. You know, the Alfredo dish. It tastes rich like that. Let's try a little bit more. And I got put some parsley with it now. You know what? I think I'm going to take a spoon so I can get some of this juice, you know. All right. And some of the parsley. You know what? That is delicious, and I will definitely, no question, I will be making this again. I want to give thanks to, let me tell you how I would do this a little differently. It is absolutely delicious. Try to drain your pasta as dry as possible. Maybe use a colander, and so that it'll just be drained. And then add everything else, because you don't want any watering down of it. And I can tell that I need to make sure that I don't do that, because the Alfredo tasting sauce is so good. It is so good. Do the parsley like it calls for. And let me just read this to you, okay, so that you can copy these ingredients down. I'm giving credit to Southern Magazine. Okay, 8-ounce package of egg noodles, a tablespoon of olive oil. You have a pen? Mushrooms. They call for cremini mushrooms, but I used regular mushrooms that you can buy, you know, button mushrooms. 2 fresh thyme sprigs. That's Thyme, for those of you who've not used that herb before. 1.5 teaspoons of paprika. They call for smoked paprika, but you might not be able to find that. all right, 2 cloves of garlic, a teaspoon of kosher salt, a half teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. You know I love ground black pepper. 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of chicken broth, a cup of sour cream, and finally, a tablespoon of chopped fresh parsley. All right? Hey, this takes a back seat to none. This is beautiful, and I have enough here now for me to take to work, you know, to have for lunch. And I can do that, plus maybe I might have a little thing of salmon on the side with it. As a matter of fact, I haven't had dinner tonight. I'm going to go ahead and saute my salmon, and I'm going to have salmon and mushroom stroganoff. You know what? Ladies who are single, and I'm going to try this. You want to have somebody over and show them you can cook, try the mushroom stroganoff with maybe a thing of a little fresh salmon and see what happens. You know, they say the way to a man's stomach, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So, hey, I'm certainly going to try that dish on somebody. I think they'll love it because it is delicious. A lot of times you copy recipes and you make it and you say, you know, but I can't gush enough about that. I'm really proud of how that came out. Take it off the stove. Don't do like I did and leave it there to be hot. You take it off the stove, let it cool a little bit, then add your sour cream. That probably gives it a little more firmness, okay, than when you just let it all boil together. We're out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad you watched tonight. I hope you'll make this mushroom stroganoff, you know, because I think you're going to love it. And for those of you who don't like mushrooms, this might be a good way to introduce yourself to mushrooms. Send us your recipe if you want us to make a really healthy recipe that you like. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Alma Jenkins. Good night.